With far more day one bugs than any other vehicles I've had in the inspection pit, the Anvil Asgard arrived in Star Citizen 4.1.1 with quite an impressive list of bugs. So much so that this video actually got delayed by me trying to reproduce a couple of the high contribution ones that I've now completely retested the Asgard on 4.2 PTU. And if this is your first issue hunter video, this is where I go head to toe on a Star Citizen vehicle to find all of the bugs, workarounds, and highlight the issue cancel reports for contributions. So for a bit of a change, let's start with an inside out on the functional successor to the Valkyrie, the Anvil Asgard. This ladder hatch is currently the bane of my life. It's caused problems for so many people, but has yet to injure me in any way whatsoever. I've tried for days to reproduce the issue, but remain completely unscathed. However, by way of offering a best practice approach to avoid the guillotine, when you're standing at the ladder, look up and to the right and you'll be able to activate the open switch. Do that, head up the ladder, everything should be fine. If you do have 100% reproduction steps, make sure to include those on your issue cancel contribution. Moving on to the weapon rack, most people are now used to being able to store their pyro multi-tool in one. However, with the Asgard, only your primary and your sidearms fit. The multi-tool will have to go in the storage locker down in the cargo area. If you take a look at your ship map, you'll see that the engineering label is shown twice and overlaps. When you're sat in the pilot seat in SCM mode, you may notice that there's no display for being coupled, whether your landing gear is deployed or not, and other sidebar elements. This isn't specific to the Asgard, but I'm including it because every issue cancel report that gets opened about this inevitably gets archived for lack of reproductions. Any Anvil ship that doesn't have dedicated displays for it on the dashboard is affected by this problem. The simple workaround is to switch to advanced HUD mode, and then you'll be able to see if you're coupled, whether your light's on, whether your gear's down. However, if you like flying in SCM in simple mode, first you're going to need to destroy your ship, then claim it, then retrieve it, then store it again, and then retrieve it again. Once that's done, the display will forever be there, until of course the next patch, where you have to deliver it again. Talking of common problems, most ships with a bed that you can log out in seem to suffer from this problem, and people get rather irritated by it. Players confuse the enter bed prompt for the only interaction there is on the bed, but if you press and hold F and then move your cursor closer towards the ladder or to your shoulder, then you'll see the actual prompt. If you're not seeing this, then you're more than likely wearing an Aral backpack. So take that off and put it in a locker and then try again. And as we continue current themes, the lower turret, when you power it up, plays the Aegis Combat Assist voice line, the same as it did with the MTC. As we're in the turret, if you then power it down, you'll notice that the MFDs in the cockpit will also turn off. So make sure to tell your gunners not to touch anything but the trigger. Much like the ladder bug, I've yet to encounter fuses popping after quantum jumps, but as with the Starlance attack that arrived at the same time, there are many people afflicted by this, so I'd recommend taking spare fuses with you whenever you go out in your Asgard. Another one that I wasn't able to reproduce, despite trying several times, is if you exit the seat during quantum, quantum will stop and you won't be able to get back in the seat. Now, as a hardened veteran of quantum-related issues, my backside stays firmly in the chair. However, if you do leave your seat during quantum and the ship comes to a stop, not allowing you back into the seat, I suggest a potential workaround would be to bedlog and then join a different server and log in. This is just from experience and isn't guaranteed, and if it does work for you, make sure to include it in your issue cancel contribution. Now we come to the door guns and, again, shared assets. There are several reports. They're on the Starlance attack, and they are in distribution centers and the new Lazarus sites. However, CIG do always say make ship-specific reports, and if they feel it's a shared issue, they will merge them together. As that hasn't been done yet, I'll list the Asgard problems, which, if they do get merged, will point towards whichever is the route. So you'll find that the door guns do not reload. Once you've spent your ammunition, that is it. And if you go to rearm and refuel in the landing services, you'll see that you won't be able to reload. The same also applies for the decoys and chaff. The workaround to both of these, obviously, is to claim your ship. Possibly more of a feedback matter, but down as polish, the light switches appear to have inverted logic, as half circle usually means dimmed and full circle being fully on. This is the wrong way around in the Asgard. And now for the missile-related issues, which affect not just the Asgard for some cases, but there is one major problem in that the dorsal missile turret is incredibly weak for one, and once it's been taken out, causes a rather large shield hole that transfers damage to the nose. It is likely that CIG will merge them together, but I've listed them separately. Also conflated by the missile turret being taken out quickly, sometimes missiles simply will not load and fire. If you're experiencing an issue in a fresh Asgard that hasn't taken any hits or been shot at whatsoever, try using precision mode when using your missiles to acquire a lock. Making our way outside, down the ramp, and then we'll close it up again for a little bit of science. Possibly feedback rather than bug. However, the ramp is incredibly easy to open. Much the same as the Corsair, it takes exactly the same amount of shots with the BR2 shotgun, and they are both far, far weaker than the RSI Zeus. One that CIG have now merged with the Idris P hangar door problems. When you repair your ramp, it fails to operate afterwards, so you'll need to store and retrieve to make it work again. As a cautionary tale, when I repaired on an external pad, the fleet manager would not register that I had then landed in the hangar, and so I needed to fly back out and claim the ship. When you're also checking out your ramp, you may notice that there are two little floating blocks offset from the aft starboard side. If you've had a small bit of flight, you may notice a substantial amount of wear appear on certain parts of the hull. Nothing huge, but certainly noticeable, much the same as the starboard doorstep being misaligned. If you compare the port and starboard, you'll notice that it's slightly offset and clipping into the hull. On the rear port side, we've got a decal that's been cut off and is quite low contrast. And something that doesn't really affect the Asgard pilots or owners themselves, but for someone like me with their inverse day job being salvager, cleaning up abandoned ships is a vital part of my gameplay. Sadly, as of 4.2 PTU, the Asgard's hull does not yield any RMC. The nose and the wingtips do a tiny amount, but the main meat of the ship constantly shows 0 and doesn't put anything in the buffer. There are a number of bugs that people have attributed to the Asgard that are not related and are a general systems issue or just player error. As there was so many that actually affected the Asgard to cover, I omitted those ones, and if you think it's specific to the Asgard and it's not, I do apologise for not including it. If you have found anything that I haven't included in this video, let us know in the comments down below and share the Issue Council report reference, and I will most certainly take a look. If YouTube will let me, all of the issues I've covered will be listed in the pinned comment down below and the description. If you found this video helpful, please do leave a like and comment, and for more like this, be sure to subscribe. Until the next one, fellow citizens, fly safe and beware the bugs.